Hi, this is Sven Beiker from Silicon Valley Mobility, and I'm Mari Herger from the blog The Last Driver License Holder. And we wanted today to talk about your last chart of the month, which was about infrastructure measures like sensors in roads, in
That's right.
objects for shared autonomous cars and connected cars. What is that about?
Well, what I wanted to do with my most recent chart of the month was really to show that basically we will need infrastructure, in my mind, for autonomous, connected, electric, and shared vehicles. But on the other hand, the existing road infrastructure is already heavily underfunded. Only half of the current infrastructure needs have funding. That means we don't even have enough money to fill potholes and to fix the bridges. But now we are talking about infrastructure to vehicle communication, about wireless charging in the road surface. We're talking about specific signs and signage for autonomous vehicles so that they work even better. How do we do it if we don't have enough money?
Yeah, but what is the advantage of having those kind of sensors and signs on roads? How do they help autonomous vehicles?
Well, quick answer is 0.0001%, which basically is all those cases where it's not obvious enough for a sensor, meaning camera, LiDAR, radar, and the likes, to detect what is the situation that a vehicle is looking at. And then you need to help it with additional information, such as a beacon on the side of the road that sends out a correction signal, for instance, for the map. Something where you basically make sure that the sign is not just visible to the human, but actually clearly detectable to the sensors. And also like just mere information that gets transmitted to those road vehicles. Very similar actually to air traffic control and those sort of things.
But the data volumes that maybe potentially flying around here, how much would it be? Is it even the system capable today of dealing with that?
Depends who you ask. And it depends who you ask in terms of is it possible, but also who you ask what is your wish list, so to speak, right? So if you ask is it possible, then some people say, oh, the existing communication network is not reliable enough and all of this. And that's what typically the automotive industry tells us, like, well, this is all safety critical and safety relevant. Sure. But can we not just use what is already existing? And I think we can and we should. And we should use whatever is available to make a system better. On the other hand, if you ask someone for the wish list, what would you want to do? Then people very often tell us, well, all the camera and LiDAR data, everything the vehicle detects, upload to the cloud, do like advanced analytics, and then figure out, there's something that changed compared to the existing map, so let's update the map. And then you have way too much data probably to transmit with existing communication standards, something that my next chart of the month will probably discuss.
Okay, great.
Exactly.
So when I talk to the Silicon Valley startups that are building autonomous cars like Voyage, Oliver Cameron, who's running one in a gated community in San Jose, a robotaxi service for the elderly, or Waymo, they all say, basically, we are most of the time offline. The only time when we are online is to be hailed as a taxi. So we have a modem in there, that's it. On the other hand, when I speak to traditional car makers, they all kind of tell you or give you the impression, first they need all the sensors, all the infrastructure measures, and then they can develop or build autonomous cars. And unfortunately, because this one is not here, they are not as far as they should be. What's the right approach here?
Well, I would say, first of all, we have to realize we're not talking about the same thing here. So, gated community, and I think, in my understanding also, what Waymo is doing is different from what the traditional automotive industry is talking about. In terms of a gated community, obviously, by definition already, is a subscribed, a limited environment. Excuse me. And similar to what Waymo seems to be doing, Chandler, Arizona, larger than gated community, obviously, but still not that you can drive from Chandler, Arizona to Palm Springs, California, something like that. Meaning they know what's happening. So, and they can say, ooh, someone actually put out this construction area, and they have a weird setting there that is not on our maps, it's not consistent with what we expect. Therefore, don't have the service operational today. Or fix maybe the information, also known as the map, for the vehicle. If the automotive industry talks about something, they for sure talk about driving from Chandler, Arizona to Palm Springs, California, and then maybe to Boston, Massachusetts, because this is what the automotive industry does. And there's so much unknown that can happen. And this is where I actually agree with the automotive industry. Mm-hmm. For this, we need some sort of communication, information provision that you say, there's something in the middle of the country, watch out, there's mm-hmm. something unexpected, therefore here's the update. Mm-hmm.
So if I understand you correctly, it means if you're a startup today and starting out with autonomous mm-hmm. driving, don't expect that today there is connectivity or mm-hmm. objects there, infrastructure measures, but build it for the future that it will be there, because it is kind of required. And we have a lot of connectivity today already and trying to connect everything. So that's probably what I understood you saying here.
Yes, let me just refine it a little bit, Mario, mm-hmm. if you don't mind. Take reasonable steps. Mm-hmm. And that means you cannot rely on the cellular network being always available with enough bandwidth, short latency, and coverage in general. And therefore, move with steps where you say, first of all, without depending on communication. And then as it becomes available and is more dependable, use it, make it better. And then there's the automotive industry that basically says, well, you know what, let's move from, and I guess many of the audience familiar with level 2, level 3, level 4 automation, so the evolution. So in the end, it's something that comes together, where it's really what I like to call, many of the startups are working on more or less unlimited automation, but limited deployment scope. Whereas the automotive industry talks about unlimited deployment scope, but limited automation. And this will come together somehow, and probably, therefore, the communication is the killer app in mobility that we will then use to fix autonomous driving.
So this was the chart of the month about infrastructure measures.
Yep.
What is the next topic?
The next one, I actually want to look at all the data that these vehicles collect. How can we actually transmit them with the existing infrastructure or soon to be existing infrastructure, where we will basically see we got so much data that needs to go through this somehow. How do we do that? Scheduling, prioritization, compression. Exciting chart.
Thank you very much, Sven.
You're welcome.
Sven Beiker from Silicon Valley Mobility, and I'm Herger, the last driver license holder.